Hi everyone, it's Nat here. Hope you're all doing well. So today I'd like to start a series to show you some very simple gardening journals that I'm going to make. I want to make a set of gardening journals using recycled materials. So I thought I'd take you along with me. Now, if you're a beginner, these are really simple and practical journals to make. I wanted to keep them quite simple because my main aim was to use up some of those glossy botanical pages and some hanging file folders that I have hanging around here. So grab bits and pieces, and it'd be great if you want to give it a go with me. So today we'll work on getting the covers ready. So I'm just grabbing my suspension folders. Now I've cut off the metal piece that runs along the top just using my Stanley knife or craft knife. You just run it along the middle and they come off quite easy. Now it's crooked up there, but I will neaten that up. Now both the ends of the folders, because they're used, are a bit damaged and weakened. So I want to take those ends off. So I'm just cutting the first end off. Now you'll see I've got some washi tape on my mat. That's because I've measured the length that I want my cover, as in height-wise. So I'm just butting it up to the line there where I've got my washi tape, and I will cut it off at the other bit of washi tape, and that will give me the right length for my cover. So the length is about 8 by 7/16 of an inch. And I find that fits your A4 papers quite nicely and leaves you a couple of millimetres extra to work with. So as you can see, I've got a number of different types of suspension folders, all varying greens and ages. Now with these ones, there's like a score line there that you can see, and it's at the perfect position for me to be able to fold over. So I'm using a ruler just to give me a crisp fold with that. And that will create a pocket or a tuck spot at the front and back of the inside covers for me. And that also leaves me with about a 6-inch across front and back cover, which is just perfect again for a 4-folded paper. Just makes it easy. And I like that size of a journal too. I find it easy to write in. So I've just burnished those, and that makes the basis for the cover with our folders and our little pockets. Now I'm showing you what I do with the other folder bit that doesn't have the score lines. I grab my big scoreboard, put it on there, and I find the 6-inch mark, and I just score at the 6-inch mark. Now it's folded over to there, the file, so that'll give me a line on both sides that I can follow to fold with. So I'm just doing that with the rest of my folders. I'm not sure if you can hear the rain here, but it's bucketing down at the moment. I'm doing a voiceover, so it probably sounds a little different than usual. So I'm just showing you the score. I decided with these, because there was writing on the outside of the folder, that it would look a bit neater for the front cover if I fold them back the other way so the writing's on the inside. Now I think I'm doing about 12 journals, so I had to repeat this process for 12 covers. Don't ask me why, I'm a mad woman. It's the first time I've tried mass making journals. So here again I'm using the ruler just to get a crisp fold on my score line, and then burnishing it down. So it's a great project, this one, for me, because I managed to get hundreds of these suspension file folders from a business that was closing down in the city. So, and they're a great medium to use for covers. I find them very sturdy. So again, I'm just following the score lines to fold my pockets with this one as well. So it looks like there's about 3 different types of suspension folders that I'm using for this project. I like the look of the newer ones for the project that I'm doing, but I ran out of those, so I had to use some of the older ones. But now that I've actually covered them a bit, they don't look so bad. So here I've got some, it's just some old paper that I have here that I picked up from the second-hand shop. And I have cut that at approximately 8 1/4 by 5 3/4, just to add inserts to my inner cover to make it look a bit neater, and also adds a bit of a writing space as well. So I had to cut a pile of those. And I also cut some magazine pictures. Well, not the magazine pictures and gardening book pictures, new glossy ones. Mostly glossy anyway. Some are quite vintage and some are from newer books, but I just found pictures that appealed to me. Mostly they're florals, but as you can see, there's some vegetables as well. I thought, why not try doing some vegetable journals as well? So they're going to be the front and back cover pieces. So I cut them the same size as the insert, the paper for the insert. So 8 1/4 by the 5 3/4. Now I'm just lightly inking just around the edge of the book page pictures, just to get rid of that white edge. I'm not being too fussy with this though, and I'm trying not to get too much ink on the actual picture. I'm not inking other things in this journal, but just for the cover I thought it would look a bit neater. And that's just walnut stain ink. So I did that with the front and back cover. So now I'm just having a look and deciding which side I want the front and which I want the back. Not that it really matters, but I'm a bit fussy like that. I decided to use glue stick to put all of these on. In hindsight, I probably would use my Helmars, but because I'm sewing around them, I could get away with using glue stick. Of course, you don't have to sew if you don't like sewing or you don't have a sewing machine. It's quite fine just to stick these pieces down, but don't use glue stick. Do use other glue that you know is going to stick it down for good. So, but as I said, because I knew I was going to be sewing, I did use glue stick. But I semi-regretted that because with some of the glossy pages, they lifted a bit in the middle after I'd sewed and that sort of thing, which hasn't mattered too much, but yeah. I know a lot of people use glue stick because it's quicker, but I tell you what, for me, I don't think it's much quicker, and I find it quite messy, so. But you learn through doing these things what your preference is. So I'm inserting these paper pieces just where we want them on the inside cover. I'm not covering the bit that we're flipping over for our pocket. Now I'm leaving just a couple of millimeters around each side of the paper. Up the top and the bottom and the sides. And if I do that with the front back cover as well, then they should be around about in the same position on the front and back of the cover, so that when I sew, the stitch will grab both pieces. But I used quite a wide zigzag stitch, so it worked fine. So I just do the other piece here with the glue stick. Now I've got a paint roller there. That's a trick I learnt from Susanna Easdale at Vintage Blend Studios. She used to use one when she was collaging sometimes to stick her papers down a bit better. So yes, I almost used a full thing of glue stick doing all of this on the 12 journals. So as you can see, I haven't gone over the spine or anything. You could use a big piece and just put it over the whole lot, even where your spine is and that, but I don't, because it just bulks things up a bit, and sometimes when you fold it, if there's not glue sticking it down properly somewhere, you'll get a bit of a crease in the paper and that. So I just find it a bit neater for me personally to do it like this. So that's the inside of the cover done. So now I've got to decide which picture I want on the front and which picture I want on the back, which was a very hard decision. Some of the pieces that I cut out for them were big enough that I could do the same picture for the front and back. I cut the same picture up for it, but others weren't as big. Like a normal A4 picture, I couldn't cut to fit both properly, so I would use two different pictures for it. So I decided that I wanted the daisies that had a bit of green, I think. Some of the leaves showing for the front. A lot of the time with these botanical pictures, some parts of the picture are a bit fuzzy and not as in focus, and I found this one a bit more in focus, so I tended to put that sort of piece on the front. So again, I'm just using my glue stick here to stick it down. I just had to check that my iPad was still recording my voice. It would be a tragedy if it wasn't. I'd have to try and remember to say all of this again. So they're beautiful pictures, and a lot of the time I'd just discard them or make envelopes out of them or something, but I actually find they look really, really good as cover pieces. Great way to use them up. I managed to get my glue stick everywhere when I'm using it. So that's the front cover done. So now we flip it over and do the back cover, making sure to put it up the right way. So I've sped this up so you don't have to see it all so slow again. Sometimes I might put the pictures on upside down, but it's what looks right to me. I'm always looking at them, turning around. Does this look right? Does that look right? Because I can't remember which way is the right way. So that's the front and back cover. Now I'm wondering what to do with my little pocket pieces. And I have decided that they're just a little bit too long for my liking. So I decided to take this little bit off, as you can see. And that ends up making the flaps about 2.5 inches. And I find that's a lot better. I think it'll make it a lot easier for me to slip things in and out. So then I go along with all of my covers off camera and cut them all down to about the same length. I keep most of my offcuts too because I think they'll be handy for other projects. Now what I've done is found some more of the paper I want to cover the outside part of the pockets. So I'm trying to find some of the offcuts and that might work for that. Now again, you want to leave just a couple of millimeters around the edges clear. I'm not going to sew around the whole lot of these pieces. So I do stick these down with my Helmars glue. So again, the pockets would be the same height as the cover. And then they're about the 2.5 inches wide. So you just take a couple of millimeters off of that and measure these pieces. Again, I ink around the edges just to take the whiteness off. Now they do get stitched up the top, which you'll see later, but like I said, I'm not going to stitch down the sides and that, so I decided to use my Helmars, and that way I don't have to worry about the glue coming unstuck. I'm trying not to worry too much with these journals as to whether things are too straight or perfect or anything like that. Just wanted to have fun making these and make them quite simple. So now I want to show you that I intend to sew down the outside edges of the white paper. I do them on the cover side though, so the outside edges of the cover. And then I'm going to sew on these two inside edges as well, just to hold all the pieces down. So you can see there I've done a wide zigzag stitch down those 4 edges. My sewing's not the neatest, and I did back stitch like to hold it, which makes it a little bit messier too, but oh well. And then I fold the pockets over after I trim all the bits off, make it neat. So I fold the pockets over, and then I'm just going to run a stitch along the top and then along the bottom, and that will hold the pockets down and finish our sewing off. So you can see there I've done all the sewing, and that's our cover ready to go with the 2 pockets. Very simple. So I have finished sewing all the covers together, and I thought I'd give you a look through all the covers that I have made. I have a whole pile here, just to show you how they are a bit different depending on the size of the botanical pages that I've found. So I have this one with the daisies. Sorry about the glare, it's because they're glossy pages. Now, a few of the covers I used massive botanical pages, so that enabled me to use the same picture on the front, the back, and on the little fold-in bits as well on the inside. So I'll show those first. Got this one. Some of these pages, the picture was a bit blurry to one side, and that's I used that towards the back more. I think this one is similar. And this I turned up the other way just so that I could cut a big enough piece to put on there that I liked. So I didn't, I wasn't too fussy. I just, whatever fit, and I thought looked okay. Now this picture here was the inside cover of a magazine, so it was a bit thicker than the rest. So as you can see for this one, I only had one piece of the cover that fit. So on the back I used a different picture. And then on the inside I used a different picture as well. But it still looks beautiful, I think. And it's still using up those shiny botanicals that I think are gorgeous. So there's one with the gate. That was quite a vintage picture from a magazine. And a different picture that I cut into pieces to do these inside bits, and then a completely different picture again on the back. That was a very vintage one as well, and on the back a different picture. And then a different one again in there. So it just depends what you can find, but these botanical magazines and books you tend to be able to find quite easily in the second-hand shops if you look around. That's why I thought this would be a good project, especially if you're a beginner, because it's not too hard to find these botanical pictures. And if you don't have the file folder, you could use manila folder, cardstock, cereal box, whatever you like to do the cover base. So it's another one with a beautiful gate, different picture again on the back, and again on the inside as well. That one with the garden path. Now they're not the most beautiful pictures, but I think they look beautiful as a cover. You can always embellish more. I'm keeping these plain. I think whoever receives these in the end can add whatever they like. This is a bit of a blurry picture, and this one was more matte, but it's from a vintage magazine. I still quite like the colours. I thought they went nicely with that front cover. Now that's the same picture that I used on the front of one of the other journals. I must have had 2 of those magazines, so I used it on this one on the back. This one's roses. I thought I might theme this one roses because I do get a lot of rose pictures, so that will use some of those up. I used a different picture on the inside. And this one, beautiful blues. I was going to do blue and yellow in this, but it makes it hard to find lots of pictures, and I really liked this one with it. So I might do a whole heap of, they're not necessarily going to be colour themed at all. Whatever I think looks good will go in them. So I had enough of this big page to do a bit down here, but I used a different picture over here. And then I wanted to do some vegetable ones. I thought, you know, I'm always keeping the beautiful botanical pictures, the beautiful florals. But I thought, well, there's no reason why you can't use your vegetables. And I like nice practical journals for my garden. So, yeah, I'd like to make one of these for myself as well. I did go off a bit with my sewing up here, which was a bit of a shame. So maybe I'll keep this one for myself, but I'll see. But I thought I'd do some that were based on vegetables rather than the pretty florals. So, and on the inside, I found a big page of capsicums. So I've used that in both. And then on the back, I've got beautiful tomatoes on that one. And then another mixed vegetable page on the back of that one. And I love them. I think they look really cool. So they are all the covers. So the next job will be to get all the papers organised that I want to put into these and sew the signatures in. So that's what I'll be doing in the next video. So take care, be good, and I will see you soon. Bye.